Claude Design. Came out a few days ago and allows us to create high-level designs using Claude directly. Now, some people are calling this the Figma killer. The shares of Figma and a few other graphic design companies dropped overnight by, I think, 7% in Figma's case. As with all AI news, that is overblown. What I'm going to be showing you today is how you can actually use Claude Design, what its limitations are, and there are some extreme limitations, at least as of this point, which is a couple of days after release. And I'm going to be showing you how you can actually use it, even if you're not a designer, in order to get very good looking applications and web pages from scratch, basically, avoiding the generic Claude Design aesthetic, which you are going to be seeing a lot over the next couple of weeks. So let's hop in. The tool you'll be able to find inside of Claude. And on the left-hand side, there is a new icon here, which is Design. I'm going to click this. You can also go directly to claude.ai/design and get access to it. You can either create something from scratch or bring in an existing website, an existing app, and have it rework and come up with new design choices. I'm going to look at both. I'm going to be showing you what I've been doing with my website and a quick app that I've been putting together. I'm going to show you what I've already done, because doing this live is very slow and I immediately hit my limit today after one prompt. We'll talk about this in a moment. It is extremely token hungry. It's to such an extent that I don't even recommend using it at the moment. Put in one prompt and I've been told to come back in 24 hours. Not great if you're actually trying to do some work. Oh, and I'm on the $200 a month plan. So let's hop over though and look at what this is, why this is important, why you should pay attention, and then we'll get into the actual limitations, which are extensive. A few days ago, on Friday afternoon, we heard about Claude Design. It got released. It was a shadow drop. Anthropic have been doing a lot of this recently, just saying, hey, here you go. Here's a new model. Here's a new tool. Here's something new for you to play around with. And basically throwing a lot of spaghetti at the wall and seeing what sticks. Increasingly, a lot of that spaghetti is falling off. I love you guys. Anthropic, you're a wonderful company, but you need to get your shit together because it's been a messy month. This is the newest in a series of releases that might be a little underwhelming. It came out on the 17th. Figma, which is a company that allows you to design, think of Photoshop, think of Canva, but for higher end actual designers use it on a daily basis. Their stock dropped by 7%. Now, what was it? Some representatives from Anthropic were on the board of advisors for Figma, but they pulled out that relationship just before this announcement. I think this has been ongoing for a while. People have been calling this the Figma killer, saying that Figma's dead. Sell all of your shares in Figma. Anthropic is coming and murdering all of the design companies. Chill. We're going to have a look at why this is not the case in a moment. This is not a full stack builder. This is not like Lovable. This is not like Bolt. This is not like V0 or Replit or any of those vibe coding tools. This is very much a front-end designing tool. So it's closer to Figma, but it doesn't have the sophistication or the professional design tools that you'd expect from a Figma. So if you do see people saying that Figma is dead, RIP Figma, ask them, are you a designer? How much do you use Figma? Because chances are they are not, and they do not use Figma, and they do not know what they're talking about. So as with all of these AI announcements, just take it with a pinch of salt. What this is a tool that allows us to put together prototypes very quickly. It allows us to do slide decks, one pages, landing pages, marketing graphics, etc. It is very good for entrepreneurs. So that is the audience that I talk to. I talk to people who want to start businesses, grow businesses using artificial intelligence. Ignore all the noise about this kills designers. It means you can prototype quickly. So we're going to hop in and have an actual look at some projects that I've been putting together. I've run out of limits very quickly. Yesterday, I did a redesign of my website, slammed into a wall. This morning, I came back and did a quick app design, Mockup for this live, slammed into a wall. So the limits are incredibly tight. And I say this as somebody who's used to the Claude code limits. So we have a few things we can do. On the left-hand side, we can start from scratch. So we can put in a project name, we can choose a design system, I'll talk about that in a moment, and we can go for wireframe versus high fidelity. So I did this morning and put together an application, an app that I would like to put on the iOS store and the Android store. So let's hop in and see what that looks like. Here we go. On the right-hand side, you can see we have a panel which allows us to see our designs, to scroll around, to look at what this would look like. These are actually clickable elements as well. In this particular case, I haven't added any interactivity, but it creates a mock-up of what an app might look like. So I've said, hey, I want you to create a Duolingo-Style app for AI with Kyle. Specifically on AI knowledge, check AI/ready, which is a page on my site for content examples. This will be for iOS. It then asked me a bunch of questions. I went through all of those questions and it spat out these mockups here. Now, this took all of my usage for the day. I can't do anything else with design. Now, to be fair, it has created quite a lot of pages, but that's still pretty brutal. So you can see the page. There we go. I can scroll around. You can see all of the different examples. So it's created me let me zoom in here. It's created a kind of skill tree. How do I get rid of this? It's very annoying. Okay, I can't get rid of this giant panel. So that is a bit of a design error on their half. There we go. We'll just make it smaller. It's created me a skill tree. It's created me examples of what the actual questions will look like. So multiple choice questions. What happens when you get it correct? The kind of panels and dashboards that we'd be using. I've just lost everything else. It's quite buggy. I will be, there we go, full canvas. Now I can see the whole thing. I'm struggling to move around because it is quite a buggy application still. I like this. This is good. You can see me struggling with it. I think this is fair. You're going to watch polished presentations on Claude Design and think, oh my God, that looks amazing. Then you're going to try it yourself and be like, this is a bit ramshackle. So the fact that I'm struggling to move around this is probably more representative. But you can see it's done a good job of basically replicating Duolingo, but using my AI knowledge pages from my website. So very, very cool. This used every single ounce of my usage though. So this is an example of how I would do it from scratch. I will basically put in I'd use a chat interface, talk to design, and it will put together a mock-up for me. Now it can also allow you to wire this together to add interactivity, animations, etc. This is just a basic canvas which shows me the workflow. I can actually draw on it. I can send and share with my team. So I can give it to teammates to view, comment, and edit. They can then draw on it. They can add comments. Can you see how I was able to select an element there and say, this sort of question doesn't make sense, for example. You can add comments, and that will add it into Claude directly. So it allows me to click on elements within my canvas. I can't do it until Sunday, apparently. I have hit the usage limit for the whole week in one prompt. That's much worse than I thought it was. Okay, so I've hit my weekly usage limit already, so this is no good. Actually, it's telling me you've hit your design limit, try again in 24 hours, but it's also telling me that I've hit a weekly limit. It's a bit buggy. But you can see the designs it's made are fine. It looks nice. If you've used anything like Figma before, you'll be familiar with this. You can comment, you can edit, you can draw. Comments will be between your team. Your team can add comments in here and you'll all be able to see what's going on. So as a design tool, pretty good if we ignore these extremely aggressive limits. The other thing I wanted to show you is if you have an existing project and you want to give it to Claude Design to redesign for you some other iterations, you can also do that as well. I find this more useful. So what I did yesterday was I gave it my website. I did not just give it the web address, but I gave it access to the GitHub repository. So it's able to access the files. It's able to see all of the HTML, all of the CSS, everything that is inside of my website and work out how it is put together. That gives it a lot more power. Because what this is basically is Claude code, but focused on design work. I gave it a copy of my website by connecting it to the repo, and it read everything. It put together a draft design system, found my colors. It worked out the UI kit and the different formatting across my website. It collected all of this into a design system. This is useful because you can apply this design system across all of your projects. This managed to find it from my website. Once you have your design system in place, you can redesign websites or apps or anything you want to do. So I gave it my website. It's fine. I put it together. I'm not a designer. I'm not a coder, but I'm basically happy with this. It does the work it needs to, but it looks like AI. So I thought, well, let's use a better AI, try and redesign it. We come over to here. So it redesigned my webpage. It gave me some options. So this is the first one. AI with Kyle, practical skills without the hype. Now notice this kind of off-white cream color. We're going to talk about this a lot. Every single website it creates tries to use this color, and you're going to be seeing this as a design tell over the next few weeks. So you can see this design here, very generic, and that's exactly what Claude Design tries to do with every single project you give it. So this page looks fine. It gave me an alternative, which is playbook first. It is highlighting my 100+ playbooks. I didn't like this one personally. And then it gave me another one called Live and Loud, which highlights the in terms of tweaks, it highlights the live stream that I do every day, which I quite like because this is one thing that I do that's slightly more unique than everybody else. So this goes through and redesigns the page based on the live stream. So I said, okay, based on this, I like this redesign based on the live stream. I hate the black. I hate what you've done with it. So let's work on the visual look, but I like the structure that you've given me. And it's given me a few other redesigns. Now, again, it immediately reverted to the cream. I do not like the cream. I do not like that generic design you've given me. It went straight back to that. But I do like the structure of the page itself. And then we went through a series of tweaks like this. There we go. Redesigning each time. This is probably why I've run out of limit, because I did some fair amount of work with it yesterday, until we get to something that I am more into. This one here, I very much like clean design. I like white, I like black. I do not like the cream that it tries to add on absolutely everything. This is what you can do with an existing website or an existing app. You feed in the GitHub, you give it everything that it needs, and then you can work with it on redesigns. It gives you the preview here. I can click on things, I can highlight. This is a live interactive example, pretty good for this. And I will be, if they sort out their usage limits, using this a lot more for this particular purpose, for redesigning rather than designing from scratch. So once you have started to work with the AI, whether you're working on a new project or you are working on an existing project and redesigning, there's a few ways you work with it. You can chat to it as if you're using Claude, as if you're using Claude code. That works really well. You can add inline comments, which allows you to click on an element, click on this element and say, I don't want this photo, and I will talk about another photo. This is very similar to if you are working with a designer, a human designer. You would provide this kind of inline comment, and you can also open it up to your team. The actual workflow for working with it is very similar to if you're working with a professional designer. Cream. Now, if you go to the Anthropic website, and we go to any Anthropic website, notice the color that they use. They use this kind of off-white, I'm not a designer, and this off-white brown oyster, this might be oyster potentially. They love this design. And you see it all over Anthropic's. This is Anthropic's design kit, basically. Unfortunately, they've fed that into Claude Design, and it means that everything it outputs looks like an Anthropic website. But if half the world are suddenly using Claude Design to put together their websites, to put together their applications, and everything's going to look the same. This used to be a problem a couple of years ago with vibe coding tools where everything had a purple gradient in it. That became the joke. If it had a purple gradient, you could tell it was made by AI. The new tell is if you have this kind of cream, people are going to know immediately, oh, this is just Claude Design. So we need to deal with this. We need to basically intercept it and say, no, do not do that. So I tried doing that with these various iterations of the homepage, and it kept defaulting. I'd said, I hate this, get rid of this off-white cream. Shit, that really is the same color, isn't it? Let's go back to the Anthropic website. So you can see this color here. Yeah, that is the same color. That is so funny. It's just exactly Anthropic's color. I told it explicitly, do not use this color. Do not use this off-white background color because it looks like you have been designed by Claude Design. It basically ignored me and it kept defaulting to this. So each round of tweaks I did, it would always try to push it back to that. So you have to be really aggressive and giving it options because LLMs will naturally converge in the middle. They will come to it's a reversion to the mean basically. So you end up with what we tend to call AI slop, things that look like they're made by artificial intelligence. We need to push back against that. A few ways to do that. First thing is you're going to give it things like this. This is a skill pack. This just came out, I believe. This is from Rohit, and he's done a bunch of different skill packs before. He has created a Claude Design.md prompt, which gives you far more control over the kind of palettes it's going to use. I would have a look at this to start. There will be a lot more skills like this. Remember, this has only been out for one weekend, but this skill automatically will start to move it away from that Anthropic brand color. Definitely install this. It's got editorial minimalism, terminal core, warm editorial. So it has a bunch of design files built in that will move it away from that one default, because at the moment we have one default, which is cream. We just need to give it other options. And this has at least 9 different styles. The other thing you can do, which works really well, and this is similar to if you are working with a designer, provide Claude Design with examples of websites that you like. go to a site like, I really like Julian, julian.com. This is a website that I like personally. Not everyone will, but this is something that I like. Very kind of clean, lots of white space. I think this is a great design. So I could give this design to Claude and say, I want this kind of lots of white space, very kind of text focused in my design. And you're going to give it exemplars of what you like and what you do not like in the same way that you would with a designer. Now you can do it with whole websites, or let's say you find a menu that you like, or you find a sidebar, or you find a footer or some kind of element from another website, and you think, oh, that's great. You can bring that specific page, that specific element back to Claude Design and say, I really like the way they've embedded their YouTube videos. It will be able to find out how they've done it and use that design inside of your website as well. You do have to think, you need to push away from the default. You can't just say, I don't like that cream. You need to give it specifics. This is exactly the same if you're working with a designer, exactly the same as all of your work with large language models and AI. You have to be specific. You need to reference. The next thing you can do is you do not rely just on yourself, especially if you're not a designer. Instead, what you're going to do is you outsource the feedback. So you're going to share with your team. As far as I know, there is not yet a way to share publicly, which is a shame. Imagine being able to share your designs and say, hey, I'm looking at redesign my website. What do you guys think? And anyone with a Claude account would be able to give you feedback. That would be really cool. But at the moment, it is just your teammates. So make sure that you invite your team. Make sure you invite other people to come and comment on it. You can export it as PDFs, PowerPoint, standalone HTML. You can send it to Canva and then maybe share previews from Canva. So you can do a whole bunch of things. But the idea here would be make sure that you've got as many eyes on as possible. Get them all commenting, get them all kind of clicking and highlighting things and saying, I don't like the way this menu looks. These Twitter embeds look a bit whack. What can we do about this? The more feedback you get, the better. Because we're working with an AI, we can synthesize and feed all of that feedback back to the AI without it getting annoyed. If we're doing this with a designer and we have 600 people who are given feedback, it becomes a logistical nightmare synthesizing all of that information, trying to draw out the patterns and feeding it back to the designer. It's going to cost you a lot of money. With AI, we can do that. So if we can work out a way to do that, I think I'll do that with my website. And I'll send it to my 50,000 newsletter subscribers and say, hey, here are some options. What do you think? I think that would be really cool. So like with working with a designer, you need to take control. You need to tell it what you want if you expect something good. So will this kill Figma? No. So I'm not an investment type guy, but I know that Figma shares just dropped through the floor. Might not be the worst idea to pick some up because I think Figma is going to be absolutely fine. That's not investment advice, obviously. It's currently being lauded as a killer of designers because that's how clickbait works. That is how Twitter works. That is what works on social media. Ignore all of that noise. It's not happening. What this is, though, which is really exciting, is if you are an entrepreneur. So in the same way that Squarespace came along and it made it easy to create a basic website, it made it easy to set up a quick portfolio showing what you did, maybe to set up an e-commerce shop to take payments. Squarespace allowed anybody basically to do that, to set up a website. This feels more akin to that. It's not necessarily going to demolish web designers like Squarespace didn't really, and it's not going to demolish designers, people who are creating these kind of assets for you, but instead it's going to lower the floor. It's going to allow more people to get access to these tools and to produce a decent first version. Many entrepreneurs, many people who want to start a business get stuck on things like, oh, I need a nice looking website, and they will spend thousands, tens of thousands of dollars, or try to do it themselves for months and not actually get anywhere. Tools like this now allow us to get something up and running that looks fine quickly, and then to move on with the hard part of actually running a business, which is not the website. So I think this is fantastic for people who are not designers, but want a solid design in place in order to launch a business. Dream. The limitations mean that as a professional designer, this is not yet workable. This will not be something that you're going to add to your tool set as of yet. But as somebody who's just going to put together a quick website or put together a quick app, get it out the door, launch their product, start building their business, it's fantastic. And then you can hire designers further down the line. Once you've validated your idea, once you've started to make money, then you can put that money into designers. But we don't do that until we have some cash in the bank. I think it's fine. I'm not going to say it's killing the design industry. I'm not going to say it's the worst thing ever. It's fine. I highly recommend you try it out. The limits are incredibly aggressive. Hopefully they will release over the next few weeks. Thankfully, the limits for Claude Design are separate to Claude Code. They're separate to Claude, so they don't impact on your token usage. I've spoken about token usage and released a YouTube video this morning about that. Claude are in a weird place right now. I think they're dropping the ball. Again, I say this as somebody who loves Claude, somebody who loves Anthropic. But the design feature that we've been looking at today is, it feels to me like another dropped ball. Like they haven't quite nailed this. If you're an entrepreneur, if you want to start a business, this is fantastic. This is perfect for you and for nobody else. So tell me what you think about this. This is based on my opinions of using it for the last couple of days, but I'd love to hear below what it is that you are using it for. Are you finding the limits a problem? Have you created any cool designs? What are you doing about the very generic looking? Have you managed to move it away from that? Tell me down below, because I'd love to crowdsource everybody's feelings about this. Thank you so much, everybody, and I will see you for another live.